Hi, thank you for watching a new video blog. What is the worst place in the Netherlands? The worst place in the Netherlands is maybe one of the worst places in the world. I lived my whole life in the Netherlands. I grew up there, and I grew up even in the worst place in the Netherlands. And you might ask you, well, what is the worst place in the Netherlands? And the worst place in the Netherlands is the Randstad. This might be a concept unknown to foreigners and tourists. But basically it's very simple. You have Amsterdam, you have The Hague, you have Rotterdam, and you have Utrecht. And in this circle, this is considered the Randstad. There's about 3.5 million people living there, and that makes it already, for me, the worst place on the planet. Because it's such a small area with so many people crowded. The population density is extremely high. One of the highest in the world, actually. For me, this is a sign that it's the worst place that you can find in the Netherlands, and even the worst place in Europe, maybe the worst place on the planet, but I think there are more worse places. But let's say in Europe, this is definitely one of the worst places. So many people crammed together, 3.5 million people on the size of maybe a city like London. It's growing, it's even growing, it's continuing to grow. Being surrounded by so many people is just extremely stressful. It isn't good to be surrounded the whole time with strangers, because that's basically what it is. You don't know these people, you don't have a connection with them, because they come from all around the world. It's highly multicultural, so it means that there's maybe over 200 different kind of cultures in just a small area. That's highly stressful. It isn't good for a human being to be surrounded by so many different cultures in such a small place. People like to respect each other. I do respect other cultures, other people, but when you're just crammed up together in just a small area, you will get stressed, and people will start to freak out every once in a while. And that's just, for me, a sign that's not healthy. I compare the Randstad, you can compare it to, for example, London, Paris, Milan, like the North Rhine-Westphalen area. It's just overly populated, and too many cultures in just one place. It's not healthy. Besides that, also, it's very unhealthy place, because you are basically in a point where just so many traffic comes together. Not only automobiles, but also flight, train, and also surrounded by boats. There's harbors, there's one of the biggest airports, Schiphol. You're just in this small area with all these people, all these connections to the rest of the world. Why do you want to live there? I don't get it. I left Randstad a while ago, and I don't want to go back ever again. For me, this is like finished, because I just saw it going from when I was a kid in the 80s and the 90s, of just kinda okay still, because there was still some green, there was still some areas where you can find peace and silence. And now in the recent 30 years they have just built everything for more living space, with more areas with factories, with corporations. It's just overly populated. And I remember that, for example, when I went to school to Rotterdam from The Hague, it was just like the early 2000s. I went by train, and I just passed like farmer lands basically the whole time. There were small villages, next village, next village, next village. In the 4 years that I studied in Rotterdam, it was just from agricultural area, which is also not even the best, but it just feels like you are in there's some quietness, that you can find some silence and peace. But in these 4 years, it was just like every small village was just being built around, mega suburbs being built, and now if you go by train, you don't see any difference anymore. It's just like one big suburban area. It just feels like you are in Los Angeles or something. Also one of the worst places on the planet. Because they don't have nature. There's no nature there, but beside of the beach, but it's also very artificial these days. There's no nature. They don't have any nature. The only nature that they have is themselves. Human beings are natural. Because of this, because there's no nature, they become very overly, extremely materialistic. And they focus on their living space, they focus on their cars, they focus on everything that's materialistic. Also there's absolutely almost no culture left. The traditional culture you cannot find in this place. It's just super artificial, very individualistic. And it's sad to see, because I grew up there and it was still a bit. My city, for example, The Hague, was still a little bit big village, but then they quickly changed it. They tear down many neighborhoods, the neighborhoods where the working class was living, and they sort of forced these people out of the city in the suburbs, and now they create in the city just this weird mix of people from everywhere, expats, students from everywhere. It just doesn't feel even like Holland anymore. When I walk there in the city of The Hague, I just only see people from India, from Latin America, from Africa, but no people from The Hague. There's no real soul anymore, like a soul that is just like, this is our city. Welcome everybody, I mean that's no problem, but there, you want to go to The Hague to see what the real culture is there. And now it's just like a weird, it feels like New York or LA, you know, it's just any other city on the planet. It's just not any interesting anymore. So Randstad, definitely one of the worst places in the Netherlands. I don't even haven't talking about pollution, for example. Chemtrails the whole day. You have Schiphol Airport, which is just polluting the air. There's a lot of highways there, polluting the air. We have the Rotterdam harbor there, polluting the air. It's just one of the worst. Also in this place, if you want to live healthy and natural, you just get polluted the worst in the Randstad. Compare this to Milano, Paris, London, North Rhine-Westphalia, like areas I visited and found really one of the worst areas from my perspective, my opinion. That was it for today. Thank you for watching and see you next time.